Yes, yes. Welcome back to motherfucking Valuable Perspectives. Man, we got my guy Larry from Plan Profit back with us for the third time. Thank you for joining us, Larry.
Happy to be here, man. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me, bro.
Yeah, we get ready to talk about what happened in 2021, what we're looking forward to in
hmm
2022. So make sure y'all stay tuned. So, Larry, yo, tell me about your 2021. Looking back, what did you learn, my brother?
Man, so I think the number one thing, right, is to be patient. I think that's at the top of my list as far as like what I learned. Be patient. Also, value isn't always determined by the price. I really understand that more now, just based on some of the decisions I made and thinking that, things were more valuable because they may have been at a cheaper price point, and, similar protocols or similar projects, but this one is at, a dollar and this one is at $40 and kind of letting those prices dictate my decisions with not necessarily long-term investments, but, just trades and things like that. And then also, Bitcoin is still in control of the crypto market. Bitcoin is still king. And also, Bitcoin is still the safest bet in crypto. You know what I mean? I understand that, there's a lot of new stuff going on with DeFi and, NFTs. And I'm into all of that. Like, I'm here for all of that. You feel me? And I'm invested in that stuff too. But really just understanding that as it relates to cryptocurrency as a whole, you know what I mean? Bitcoin is still king. Bitcoin is still, from a large long-term perspective, it's still one of the most proven assets. You know what I mean? And so, really understanding that for me, right, despite what I do in 2022, I'm going to continue to dollar cost average more aggressively into Bitcoin, and continue to kind of use that as my hedge against inflation. You know what I mean? We know it's a lot going on right now in the market with inflation. They just released the consumer price index this morning. So inflation is the highest it's been since 1982.
Mm.
And so that's just given us, it's kind of like, for me, I don't look at it as bad news, but more just a reminder to continue to keep that in mind and continue to look at proven hedges against inflation. And right now,
Mm.
Bitcoin is number one. You feel me?
Mm.
So,
Mm.
and then also to double down on yourself, right? Like,
Mm.
if you know that you're doing your research and you know that you're, you've gone through whatever your process is for kind of determining different assets to invest into, don't let the FUD, clog or get into your mind as far as the decisions that you made. It was a couple times that happened to me where, I got a little scared and, prices maybe went down or things corrected. And so I pulled out of assets that I know are quality assets like Hex. I didn't
Mm.
pull out, but Hex is it's in a correction right now based on
Mm.
previous all-time highs. And
Mm.
so, a lot of people are like, well, should I pull out? Should I? And it's like, nah, you got to go back to what you know. If you've done your research,
Mm.
if the project checks off those boxes, you got to be patient and understand that this is a process. You know what I mean? So I would think
Mm.
that those are the four things: being patient,
Mm.
value isn't always determined by the current price, Bitcoin is still king, right? And then also
Mm.
double down on yourself and don't let the FUD get to you.
I love those. Those are key. Yo, so what are you excited about in 2022? You got your learnings from last year, but there's a lot to look forward to in this year. So how
Yeah.
does the landscape look to you?
So what I'm excited most about, I think, is first I would say layer zero protocols, layer zero protocols, which is kind of centered around bridging a lot of these different blockchains through interoperability, so that different blockchains are able to kind of communicate with each other, kind of like seamlessly, I guess you could say. So I'm really excited about that because I feel like that's a part of like the next iteration of this whole thing. You know what I mean? Like you're building out these different things, right? You have these different projects and these different protocols and all these different things. And now it's like, okay, how do we bridge all of this stuff together? You know what I mean? How do
Mm-hmm.
we make everything make sense? It's kind of like when you first, back in the day, you had stores, you got to go here, you got to go here, you got to go here, you got to go there. Then somebody came up with a mall. You know what I mean? It's like, yo, we could put all of this stuff in one place. You know what I mean? So kind of like that. So I'm just excited to kind of see how Layer Zero protocols will play into 2022, connecting everything, or connecting all the different, blockchains and projects that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Also, what I'm interested in too, and I think is something to look out for, is layer one protocols that will compete with Ethereum. I'm really interested to see what protocols will give Ethereum a run for their money. And so I think an important metric to look at when you're kind of trying to figure that out or kind of trying to gauge what's going on is like developer activity, right? Because
Yep.
ultimately the project's value from like an accomplishment perspective, or what they're able to get done as far as hitting milestones on their roadmap is literally determined by developer activity. If you don't have any developers, then you have no project. And so what I think is interesting is that Ethereum, right, Polkadot, Cosmos, Solana, Bitcoin, Near protocol, Cardano, and Kusama all have at least 100 full-time developers, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that that's really important because there's different types of developers, right? You got some who just come in and out of projects. You got some who work part-time, but the full-time developers I think are really important to focus on. The same thing as full-time employees. Those are going to give you the most production, right? They're going to be able to produce the most. And so Ethereum clearly has the most developers, right? I think they have about
Mm-hmm.
1,200 developers that are full-time right now, right? And
Mm-hmm.
Polkadot is second with about 500 developers, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what's interesting to me is that over the course of this last year, Polkadot has grown 66.6% in their total developer number, right? While Ethereum has only grown 31.5%. So I think that that's a really interesting metric to consider because what it's saying is that over the last year, Polkadot has grown at a higher, Polkadot's full-time developer number has grown at a significantly higher rate than Ethereum, almost double. And so I get it that, from a numbers perspective, they have a lot more on deck with the 1,200, but this is interesting to consider and to look out for because what it's telling me is that Polkadot is starting to gain momentum. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm interested to see at the end of 2022 what that ratio is. What's Polkadot's developer growth versus Ethereum?
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like Ethereum is kind of plateauing, right, from a developer perspective. And so other protocols, right? Polkadot, Near, Solana, Binance Smart Chain, they have more full-time developers than Ethereum did at the same point after their first code commit, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
what that means is that Ethereum might have started in 2017, right? Um, Binance Smart Chain might have started in 2019, right? So when you factor in the different dates that each project started, Polkadot, Near, Solana, and Binance Smart Chain have more full-time developers than Ethereum did at that same point. And
Right.
so that's also interesting to me too, because once again,
Mm-hmm.
Polkadot checks off another box, right? And so I think that Polkadot for me is a key project that I'm going to watch out for. We can get into that later. But also, right, another thing to look out for, or another thing to consider, right, and that I'm excited about for 2022, Web3 developer growth has grown the most ever, right? Since
Mm-hmm.
2020 to 2021, in the last year, I think in 2020, there were about 10,500 Web3 developers, right? Total, just total within the whole crypto ecosystem. And in 2021, there's 18,581. And there hasn't been that much significant growth since I think 2017 to 2018. And this year is still more than that. So we can see, right, that the writing is on the wall that more and more people, more and more developers are building in the Web3 ecosystem, right? And so that's
Right.
really exciting and something that I think is worth continuing to keep up with. I'm also excited about DeFi for 2022. I'm really excited to see, I guess, like how that progresses, right? DeFi, I think DeFi was a bigger narrative last year. I think
Hmm.
this year, and maybe into early this year, but it was more like an NFT metaverse theme, or maybe like the second half of this year. DeFi was still kind of like the narrative at the beginning of the year. But I'm interested to see how DeFi also continues to grow, because from a developer perspective, again, right, which is a key metric that we look at, they've grown 76% in the past year, right? And so they're up to, like, I think 2,500 developers that are working within the DeFi ecosystem. So those are kind of the things that I'm really looking out for in 2022, that I'm really focused
Hmm.
on kind of seeing how they're going to play out.
One of the things I want to reflect on is the just kind of the onboarding process of some of these layer ones, right? So as we know, Ethereum has become almost unusable for new users, right? And that opens
Yeah.
the door for things like Solana, things like Binance, this Binance chain, Near, right? So we see all these different opportunities coming, and then at the same time we have ETH 2.0 coming around the corner, right? And the promise of, lower gas fees. And so I think that we have like these two things coming, because as ETH 2.0, if it evolves and does cut the gas fees, I think some of those users will eventually flock back to to Ethereum. But I also think that, if these chains can create something sustainable and create a real user base, I think some of these chains, to your point, are going to be here for a long time, and are going to have great success. But yeah, I think those are great
Yeah.
points as far as what to look forward to. Also, you didn't mention, but for me, I think blockchain crypto gaming in 2022 is going to finally get serious. I think that there's been a lot of developments in 2021. Gala Games kind of launched. You have Illuvium. Axie Infinity was making real big splashes last year. Um, Zed Run, started coming out, and there was some
Hmm.
success there. So I think that in 2022, some of the games that have been being developed are actually going to start coming out in early beta, and I think a lot of investment is going to come pouring into the play to earn space, right? People, in the Philippines are already learning that they can make more money playing games and they can even working their own jobs, and so that's bringing in a lot of economic energy into the play to earn space. So really want people to keep their eye out on the blockchain gaming side of things. So moving
I
forward,
agree. That's an excellent
word,
point.
word. So what are your top five crypto picks for 2022?
Hmm. That's a good question. So, let's see. I want to say Binance, right? And this is in no particular order, but and these are more larger cap coins, right? But I would say Binance is one of the ones to watch, and the reason why, right? I get that Binance is, huge, and people have kind of heard about it, and it's nothing new. But the reason why Binance, I think, is huge, or one to watch, is because of the massive number of people that will use their exchange
Mhm.
from a global level, right? I
Yep.
think Binance will continue to dominate crypto from like a fiat on ramp perspective. There may be decentralized exchanges that come in and get more traction, which is great. But as far as just the go-to global platform for purchasing crypto,
Mhm.
Binance, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Clearly, far and away. And the thing is,
Mhm.
right, the tokenomics with their BNB token is so interesting. They burn Binance tokens every quarter, right? And they
Mhm.
burn based on the usage in that quarter. So
Mhm.
as more people utilize Binance, more Binance coin gets burned, Binance coin gains in value. You know what I mean? And so
Mhm.
even though Binance has went on a historic run from, like, I don't know, $5, maybe a year and a half ago, to, I think it's at like 500 something dollars right now. I still see huge potential for Binance. And I think that that is what I would consider more of a safe investment in crypto. Not to say that there aren't other cool things that are pretty decent, but Binance to me is a really safe investment. I think just because of the tokenomics and because of the desire, I think, for people to want to get into crypto, which I think will only continue to grow. Right. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Polkadot is another one for me for 2022. Um, I'm really I'm a huge Polkadot fanatic. I love everything about the project. I love the fact that the founder was a part of Ethereum, and I really like their approach with how they're building and what they're looking to solve with their project. Polkadot, Atom is another one. Cosmos is another project that I'm keeping an eye on for 2022. Terra Luna, which is a really interesting liquidity protocol, is built on Cosmos. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that more and more projects will build on Cosmos. Cosmos is also doing the whole like layer zero interoperability thing, which I think will be huge in
Mm-hmm.
2022. Solana, I think, is another one to watch. Um, I'm I like Solana. I'm kind of biased with different projects just based on what I'm into, just being completely honest. You know what I mean? But and I mean biased from like a perspective of kind of like what I focus on, but you can't deny the developer growth of Solana, right? You can't
Mm-hmm.
deny the track like how fast they're gaining traction and how fast they're gaining like value within the blockchain space. They're doing some really
Mm-hmm.
cool stuff at Solana. So I think that that's one to look out for. And then also kind of a newer project that I think is one to look out for is Near Protocol. I think that that's also along the similar vein of Solana, where you just can't deny the speed at which they're growing, right? I think Near, out of all of the projects last year, has grown the fastest with developers coming in and building on their blockchain, full-time developers.
Right.
So I would say that those are the five that I would look out for 2022. Obviously, like I said, there's a lot of projects, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
I have to also add, oh God, because see now you got me. I have to say the sandbox too. Um, I think that that's also one to look out for. Honorable mention, I would say, is the sandbox. Um,
Got
so
to
yeah,
check out Sand Token, SAND for the sandbox. Yeah, I
yeah,
like
I
that.
think sand.
Bet for sure. So, what do you think is going to surprise people in 2022 in the crypto world?
Uh, hmm, let's see. I think I don't know if this is well, yeah, I think it is a surprise because a lot of people are focused on NFTs and gaming. I love gaming. Like I'm with you, right? I feel like that's gonna really be huge. But what I think is gonna surprise people the most, I think, is how like the narrative is gonna shift to, and this is more from like a larger perspective. I think the narrative in crypto is really going to start to shift to what projects are able to interoperate. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like, I really think the value is going to be in the projects that are able to communicate across blockchains.
Mm,
And so I really don't think that people understand that yet because, we're caught up in like all of these other different things that are going on, with the NFTs and being able to play to earn and gaming and everything like that, which is all huge. But I think that the interoperability thing is going to take all of that to another level,
yep.
right? Like you'll be able to game and go between different blockchains or have a world that where you can have someone who might be on Solana be able to compete with someone that's on a platform on Polkadot, and they're able to literally like interact within each other, trade assets, you know what I mean, without having to worry about this blockchain can't communicate with that blockchain. So I think even though, right, the narrative of like gaming, NFTs, DeFi, you know, these things will be huge, you know, in 2022. I think that that interoperability piece is what really allows all of those things to kind of go to the next level. And so for me,
Mhm.
I think that's what's going to really surprise people the most. Well, not one of the things that will surprise people. I think another thing that's going to surprise people is how much liquidity comes into the market this next
Mhm.
year. I really think that there's going to be a lot more money that comes into crypto, and I think that there's going to be a lot of that money. A lot of it is going to go into gaming projects, um,
Mhm.
metaverse related projects, smart NFTs. You know what I mean? I think a lot. Honestly, I think probably more than so. Say next year, right? Say $1 trillion goes into the crypto market, right? And the market cap goes to $4 trillion or something like that. I think half of that is going to be funneled into gaming related projects, metaverse related stuff, NFT related projects, right? So even
Mhm.
though I think that, you know, what to me, what's more important is probably, you know, interoperability and those type of protocols that are going to bridge everything together. I think from an attention perspective, like what people are going to be investing in, like everyday people, yeah, gaming is gonna shock. I think it's gonna shock people just how much money gets put into this stuff. You know what I mean? Especially with all of these things that are going on, right? You got
Mhm.
COVID going on, you got countries falling apart, you got natural disaster, you have all these different external things that are happening, right? And so I feel like that's gonna further push people to want to like, you know, get away. Like I want to have
Mhm.
fun. I want to be able to experience a more immersive experience. You know, like Samsung just built a virtual store. I want to say in Decentraland, and so
Mhm.
it allows them to have a completely different experience that they can now build out for their consumers. So you can take your consumer experience to a completely different level. And I think a lot of
Mhm.
companies are finally starting to see that, right? And so as
Mhm.
that continues to kind of like open up and companies begin to understand that you can bridge these different worlds, like Disneyland, they just patented some technology where they can do like AR on in their theme parks, right? You
Mhm.
got the glasses that Apple is coming out with, the VR glasses
Mhm.
where you can, you know, so it companies are starting to see, right, that you can, there's a greater potential for how unique experiences can be created. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
How we can
Mhm.
achieve value, how people can have
Mhm.
more control over their experiences, right? How we can
Mhm.
communicate and how people can build more community within each other. Like it's a whole different level. And so I think that that's
Mhm.
really going to be a huge narrative for 2022 also is how much deeper of an experience we can create through, you know, this gaming technology that's out, these metaverses that are out, these NFTs, these smart NFTs, you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
that's what I think for 2022.
I love that. And to double down on that, I think that the interoperability that's happening, I think DeFi is going to explode in 2022 because of the interoperability and the ability to, for the first time, like play into DeFi because the fees are going to be a lot more affordable. I think that the Ethereum fees actually kept a lot of people outside of it, of DeFi. That's what was like the explosion of pancake swap to me was like finally people can like play with DeFi, can become liquidity providers and not get crushed on fees. And I think to your point, right, you have these new layer one solutions, you have interoperability, you have the metaverse. And so what I see is DeFi and the metaverse and all of the things that are happening in gaming. I think those things are all going to come together in a way that's a lot more approachable, and then that allows more people to even put liquidity into the crypto space because if you tell someone to put in $500 into something right now, they might only get to play with 300. They might get hit with
Mm-hmm.
$200 worth of fees,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not reasonable for really anybody, that just isn't sitting
No.
on a ton of cash, right? Which isn't the majority of people around the globe. So yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't agree more with your points. So, what advice would you have? A lot of, like, to your point, new people are coming in. So, for someone that's watching, that's studying crypto, kind of dipping their toes into the waters, what advice would you have for them coming into the market?
First of all, be patient, right? Be patient. Because you can get caught up in these games and seeing these games, right? You're new to crypto, right? You're looking at different coins, or you heard about, Decentraland or Mana or something, and then you look back and you say, over the years, it's been up 4,000% or something like that. You know what I mean? And so it can, if you're not careful, it can set the wrong expectation where you think that, you know these things are just going to come. All I got to do is just find the next Decentraland and put a little bit here, and it'll be there. It'll go up in a couple days. And a lot of those meme coins, right, I think have also kind of set an expectation where people expect really fast gains, and that's the norm, not
Mm,
realizing that a lot of those gains were abnormal, even in crypto, right? So being patient, I think, is important. Also, taking the time to do your research. I think another thing that kind of sets the wrong expectation is because we're so new in this space and it's still so young, that a lot of projects, it almost seems like all you gotta do is just throw some money in it, and it'll be up next month. You know what I mean? Or throw some money in this. Because when you look at a lot of these projects, a lot of projects are in positive profit over, the last 6 months to a year. A lot of projects are in
mm,
significant profit, even over the last
mm,
3 months. You know what I mean? So once again, being mindful that, even though that's happening, still do your own research so that you have an idea or an understanding of what it is that you're choosing to invest in. Even if you consult with someone, or, like, and I think a lot of people in crypto are leaning on, influencers, and they're leaning on social media to help drive their decisions. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but like, I always, no matter what I hear from anybody on social media, because I do the same thing too, right? I have my Twitter, I have my Instagram, I follow different influencers, and rightfully so, right? However, anything that I find, or anything that someone tells me about or I hear about, I always double back and do my research, right? I check
mhm,
it out to find out what it is, how it's unique. Just like with Pulse, right? Like,
mhm,
I'm now going to go back and dig in to see what's really going on with that, so that I can, because
mhm,
I trust people, right? Like, you could tell me
mhm,
Pulse is an excellent project, this is what they're doing, it's a fork of Ethereum, XYZ, and it's like, oh, yo, like, this is dope. You know what I mean? But I'm still gonna go back and I'm gonna
mhm.
do my own research to
Yep.
verify that. You know what I mean? I
Mhm.
think verification is really, really important, right? Because if it is what it is, it's gonna be what it's gonna be, right?
Yep.
And so taking the time to do yourself the service of doing your
Mm,
own research, I think will really help any new investors to be positioned for to be best positioned for profitability. Um,
mm,
Also, another thing I would say is, don't chase gains.
mm.
Like, you know what I mean? Don't try to chase the gains. Like, if you saw a project, for example, Terra Luna, right, and it was at $60, and you're like, oh man, I should have got in. You see a project and you're like, oh, I want to get in it. $60, and then you kind of wait, right, and then it goes to 70, and then it goes to 80. You know what I mean? And now you're looking like, dang, I could have been up. You know what I mean? 30%. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't get in it. So now it goes to 85. And so now you kind of ape into it. You know what I mean? Because you like, well, look at everything you getting in at that price point based on looking at everything that you feel like you lost. That's a poverty mindset, believe it or not.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
feel me?
Big
Because
facts.
right, because what we have to understand is crypto is, I mean, the market and these charts and everything, they're nothing but a reflection of how people think. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And so you got to think, if somebody who got in at 60 like you should have is in it at 60 and it goes to 80, 85, you're booking profit. The average
Mm-hmm.
person is going to take profit because I'm in profit. And if the whole goal with all of this stuff, despite how cool this technology is, despite how great this stuff is for the community, all that, at the end of the day, most investors want to make money. You want to make profit. You want to gain value. I won't say money because I get the whole fiat crypto thing, but any investor, you don't invest for any other reason other than for
Mm-hmm.
growth. You see what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And so we have to understand that, because what will end up happening a lot of times when you're chasing these gains is you get in at 85 and then it corrects, right? And so now it's correct. So you got in at 85, you're checking it every day, and it's 86, 80, I mean, 83, 81, 70. You know what I mean? Now it's back down close to 69 or 65. So now you thinking, damn, now I'm losing money. You know, now once again, like we were talking about, doubling down on your research and not letting the FUD get to you. That's fear,
Mm-hmm.
uncertainty, and doubt, right? So now
Mm-hmm.
the same project that you know is great, and it's, oh, this is dope, because you were gonna get in it at 60, but you were scared. But you know it's a good project. So now that same project that you bought in at 80 and now it's corrected, now you sell. You see what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Because it's like, dang, I'm losing money. Once again, poverty. You know what I'm saying? Now
Mm-hmm.
you're making a decision based on what you feel you've lost. And so
Mm-hmm.
I really think that it's important to not chase those gains and to understand, right? If you get in at the top and it corrects, that's fine. If you know that it is what it is, then
Mm-hmm.
you should be able to. And this is another thing I would say too for new investors. Never, and this is not financial advice, any of this. This is just opinion and education for me. But I would never invest 100% of whatever I have
Mm-hmm.
allocated to that. If I have $1,000 allocated to Terra Luna, I'm not going to invest $1,000 in it, because what if I happen to get in at the top? What if, even with all of my analysis and everything, I still happen to get in at the top and I put in my thousand and it sinks back down? Now that's all I have is that thousand. So now I gotta just wait. And don't get me wrong, patience is important, but if you are a little more strategic with the percentages, like instead of putting in 100%, maybe put in 65%, 70%. You see what I'm saying? And then cease, because if you put in 70%, so you put in $700 and then it corrects back down, you have an extra $300 to dollar cost average in to offset that high price that you bought it at. And on the
Mm-hmm.
flip side, right, if you buy 700 at 70 or at 80, right, and it goes up to 90 or it goes up to $100, that's still fine because you're still in profit from that $700. You get what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So the goal is
Mm-hmm.
to be profitable. The goal isn't always to just get these movie gains that a lot of times people see with a lot of these influencer coins and meme coins and things like that. The goal is to get gains. And so I really think that that's another thing I would say for new investors. I would never put 100% of what I have allocated to something in at one time, despite
Mm-hmm.
how I think things are going. And then also understanding that there are thousands and thousands of projects in this ecosystem, right? And so it's really important to have some type of process, whatever it is, have some type of process for how you determine value in different projects. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Some type of process. I don't care if you do it based on the team, based on the developer activity, based on their use case, the tokenomics, whatever, but have some type of process for how you determine what you get into, what you pick, what you
Mm-hmm.
think is valuable. Even if it's leaning on a person. I go to this one guy and I get all my crypto picks, but I go back and verify. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? But have some type of process. Also, in my personal opinion, and this is my last one, um, I still think because we're so well, not even because we're so early. Just I have a prioritization list, right, with what I invest in, and I prioritize protocols, right, and then platforms, right, and then projects. and
Mm-hmm.
and so I know that's kind of like it can get kind of like muddied as far as which is which, but what I'm saying is, okay, so protocols are like, believe it or not, Bitcoin is a protocol, right?
Mm-hmm.
um Terra Luna is a protocol, it's a liquidity protocol. Basic attention token is a protocol. And what protocols are is they're the framework for how different things can function. So a platform can function within a protocol, and then
Mm-hmm.
a project can function within a platform. You see what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So it's just a bit more of a solid foundation. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like there will be, for example, Aave is another one, right? That's a
Mm-hmm.
liquidity protocol. And so you'll have projects or
Mm-hmm.
platforms that link with Aave so that
Yep.
Aave can provide a service for that platform.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? Another other kind of like protocols, I think you could say, um, is something like Polygon, right? Matic.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that those are protocols. I think are important because I think that it's a little more value associated with those, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's like to
Veracity
even
is
to even get into the project, you have to go through the protocol, right? And so the value of the protocol is built up by all the projects on that ecosystem, and so
exactly
it's like investing in like the United States rather than in Texas or in California, right? It's like the whole United States is as successful as all of the states, rather than like, well, I'm going to invest in one of the states. So it's kind of like a way to think about it. It's like the whole country is running together. You can't have the state without the country, right? You
right.
can't you can't
And
have the city without the state, right?
exactly. And even though, right, and that's actually an excellent analogy because, for example, right, the S&P 500 or the Nasdaq or whatever, that's kind of like investing in the whole country, right?
Yep,
So it
yep.
may be a slower play. It may be
Mhm.
slow, but over time, it's still it's consistent. You see what I'm
Yep,
saying? So,
yep.
you may not get those gains like you would get on, Gala
Shiba.
Games or something like that, or yeah, or meme coins, and not to say because Gala Games is an excellent project, right? So you may
Hmm.
not get those gains, but it's still something that is consistent. And I think that you gotta balance out your portfolio, right? I don't think that you
Hmm.
should just go all in on gaming or all in on,
Yep,
you know what I mean? Like have a little bit of this, a little bit of that, so that it's more well-rounded. You know what I mean?
yep. Had that
So
diverse
I think,
portfolio.
yeah, I think that's what I would say. Look into protocols, definitely, and then also platforms like Ethereum. You know what I mean? And then projects like Ethereum has a lot of projects that are running on it, and a lot of those are cool. So I would say that that's my order, and that's my advice. I think for new investors.
Word. I
Yeah.
think that's sound advice. So right now we're gonna jump into something new, for the real MVP show. We're gonna play or nay. So essentially what this is like, is this the play or is this a nay, for you? And we're gonna just quickly fire through these, all right? So
Hmm.
first thing we got play or nay, Bitcoin.
Definitely play.
It's a play. Play or nay, Ethereum.
Oh, I gotta say play. I don't want to say
Play
play,
it.
but I gotta say play.
Play it. Doge.
Nay.
That's a nay. Sheeb.
Yeah, nay.
Nay.
Nay, nay.
He said nay, nay. Hex.
Play for sure.
Play. Cardano.
Ah, this is sick. Oh, nay.
Nay. Chain Link,
Play for sure.
Play, Gala.
Play.
There you have it, folks.
Yeah.
Yo, Larry, man, I really appreciate you jumping on. You know, it's always a pleasure dropping the gems per usual. Where can people find you to tap in?
Okay, so I'm on Instagram at Planned Profit, PLANNED PROFIT. Also on TikTok at Planned Profit. And yeah, so we got a website coming out soon. Launch date is February 22nd, 2022. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, hit me up on social media, man. I'm always posting stuff, always trying to help out. A lot of free game information. So make sure y'all tap in.
Word. And I'll put the links for Larry down in the show notes. Make sure y'all hit that like, subscribe. If you fuck with the content, comment down below. And until next time, peace and love, y'all.
Peace.